when a simple family visit turned into a shocking betrayal, and a son and his wife tried to erase Mary Beth from her granddaughter's life. What happens when she uncovers their true devious intentions? My heart, bless its naive little beat, felt like it was doing a happy jig on the morning it all started to unravel. Picture this, me, Mary Beth, 58 years young and still got more spunk than most folks half my age, down on my hands and knees on the plush cream carpet in David and Sarah's pristine living room. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with the faint, sweet smell of baby powder, and the morning sun streamed in, making everything glow. I wasn't there to dust, mind you. Oh no, I was there for the main event. My granddaughter, Lily, bless her tiny, determined soul, was about to make history. She'd been pulling herself up on everything in sight for weeks, those little legs wobbling like jello on a hot day. But today, something was different. Her big blue eyes, just like her grandmother's, were fixed on me, a wide, gummy grin spreading across her face. I held out my hands, coaxing her with a soft, encouraging tone. Come on, sweet pea, you can do it. Just a little step. That's it. And then it happened. One wobbly foot, then the other, a glorious, triumphant shuffle across the carpet. She took 3 full, independent steps before tumbling right into my open arms, a giggle bubbling up from her tiny chest. I scooped her up, burying my face in her soft hair, inhaling that sweet baby smell. You did it, my little superstar. You walked, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. Tears, the good kind, pricked at the corners of my eyes. This was it. This was the moment you live for as a grandma. Pure, unadulterated joy. A moment so precious, so utterly perfect, it should have been etched in gold. That's when David walked in, interrupting my blissful reverie like a brick through a stained glass window. He wasn't smiling, not even a flicker of warmth in those eyes that used to light up when he saw me. He just stood there, arms crossed, looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher, a sort of grim resignation. The air in the room, which had just moments before felt so light and joyful, suddenly grew heavy, oppressive. He cleared his throat, a sound that, in retrospect, now sends shivers down my spine. "Mom," he began, his voice flat, devoid of any affection. "We need to talk. Sarah and we've been talking." My heart, still reeling from Lily's achievement, skipped a beat. Talk about what? I looked at him, still holding Lily, who was now happily gnawing on my necklace. "What is it, honey? Everything all right?" I tried to keep my tone light, but a cold knot was forming in the pit of my stomach. Something in his demeanor, in the way he avoided my gaze, told me this wasn't going to be about a new promotion or a vacation plan. No, this was something else entirely, something colder, sharper, and it was aimed right at me. The joy of Lily's first steps, that perfect golden moment, was already fading, replaced by a growing sense of dread. What happened next, it changed everything. You do not want to miss how this truly unraveled.
"We've decided it's best if you don't come over as much anymore, Mom." David's words hung in the air, thick and acrid, like cheap cigar smoke. I felt the blood drain from my face, leaving my skin feeling cold and papery. Lily, sensing the shift in my demeanor, started to fuss in my arms. I tightened my embrace, my mind reeling. "Not come over as much? David, what in God's name are you talking about? I just saw Lily take her first steps. This is her grandmother you're talking to." My voice, usually steady, cracked with indignation. He looked past me, towards the kitchen, as if seeking some invisible support. Then Sarah, my daughter-in-law, glided into the living room, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on her lips. She had that cat that ate the canary look, if the canary was my heart. "Mary Beth," she said, her tone saccharine sweet, but with an underlying steel that could cut glass. "We just feel like you're a little too involved. Involved, my mind screamed. I helped with laundry, babysat when they needed a night out, cooked them casseroles when they were sick, and adored their child more than life itself. Too involved, I repeated. I'm her grandmother. What am I supposed to do? Wave from across the street? Is that what grandma means now? A distant relative you send a Christmas card to once a year? David finally met my eyes, and I saw a flicker of something there. Not regret, but an almost apologetic helplessness, like a little boy caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Mom, it's just, we need our space. Sarah feels like you're always here, always offering opinions. My jaw dropped. Opinions? When had I ever offered an opinion that wasn't asked for? I had spent my entire life biting my tongue just to keep the peace. Opinions? I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. So my existence, my very presence, is now an opinion, one that you apparently no longer care for? Lily, still in my arms, looked up at me with her innocent blue eyes, unaware of the emotional shrapnel flying around the room. I felt a pang of protectiveness so fierce it almost buckled my knees. This wasn't about me. This was about them controlling access to her. Look, Mom, it's our decision, and we'd appreciate it if you respected our wishes. Respected their wishes? They were ripping a piece of my soul out and telling me to be polite about it? My arms, which had been so full of joy moments before, now felt heavy, weighted down by a crushing sadness. I gently set Lily down, trying not to let my trembling hands betray the earthquake raging inside me. She immediately crawled towards a brightly colored toy, oblivious. I straightened up, meeting David's gaze squarely. Fine, I said, the single word a razor-sharp edge of ice. Just remember, David, sometimes when you build walls, you end up trapping yourself inside. I turned and walked out of that living room, leaving behind the echoes of Lily's first steps and the shattering sound of my own heart. The door clicked shut behind me with an almost ominous finality, and I knew, with a chilling certainty, that the sweet, vibrant bond I had with my son and his family had just been severed. The silence that followed was deafening, a stark reminder of the void they had just created. This is just the beginning. The walls are closing in, and you won't believe what happens when she pushes back. You absolutely cannot miss how this story intensifies.
The following week was a blur of unanswered calls and texts that floated in the ether, never reaching their intended recipients. My phone, once a bustling hub of family photos and funny videos of Lily, now lay silent, a stark monument to their rejection. Each time it didn't ring, a fresh wave of despair washed over me. I'd leave voicemails, my voice wavering with a desperate plea for understanding. David, please, just tell me what I did wrong. Sarah, can we talk this out? I miss Lily so much. But my words, laden with a mother's heartbreak, simply vanished into the digital void, swallowed whole by their silence. It felt like they just ghosted me, like I was some casual acquaintance they were trying to politely ditch, not the woman who brought David into this world. My house, which used to buzz with the promise of weekend visits and the delightful chaos of a toddler, now felt vast and empty. Every corner held a memory, a phantom echo of laughter. The little rocking horse in the guest room, the stack of board books by the armchair, the tiny Wellington boots by the back door. Each one a sharp physical reminder of the void they'd created. I found myself wandering through the rooms, touching Lily's abandoned toys, a knot of grief tightening in my chest. It was a bizarre kind of torture, living in a house full of ghosts of moments that were supposed to be real. I called my oldest friend, Evelyn, a no-nonsense woman with a heart of gold and a tongue sharper than a tack. They've just cut me off, Ev, like I'm some unwanted pest. I choked back a sob, my voice raw. I don't understand it. One minute I'm watching my granddaughter take her first steps, the next I'm persona non grata. What in the blazes did I do? Evelyn, bless her practical soul, listened patiently, offering quiet murmurs of support. Mary Beth, honey, sometimes folks show their true colors when you least expect it. It's not about what you did, it's about what they are. She suggested therapy, a sensible thought, but I waved it off. What was a therapist going to do? Tell me I wasn't crazy? I already knew that. My pain wasn't some internal glitch. It was a gaping wound inflicted by the very people I'd poured my life into. The injustice of it all gnawed at me, a relentless burning itch beneath my skin. You think you know betrayal? You haven't seen anything yet. This next part is where the true colors really start to show. Get ready. The quiet desperation was slowly morphing into a cold, simmering rage. I couldn't just sit there, letting them erase me from Lily's life. Something felt inherently wrong, beyond a simple misunderstanding. It was too sudden, too absolute. There had to be more to it than just needing space. Sarah, I recalled, had always had this subtle, almost imperceptible air of resentment about her, like she was constantly calculating, weighing, judging. She'd made a few strange comments over the years, little throwaway lines about future plans and streamlining assets, especially when we were discussing my modest but comfortable house, the one I'd worked my fingers to the bone to pay off. At the time, I'd dismissed them as typical young couple chatter. Now they echoed in my mind like sinister pronouncements. Then a thought hit me like a splash of cold water to the face. Mrs. Donovan, my ancient, ever-observant neighbor from across the street, she was the unofficial mayor of gossip, knew everything that happened on our block, and probably had a mental filing cabinet for everyone's dirty laundry. I hesitated. I wasn't one to spread rumors, but desperation has a way of making you throw caution to the wind. If anyone knew the real dirt, it was Mildred Donovan. I walked over to her house, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. The scent of mothballs and stale potpourri hit me as she opened the door, her eyes magnified by thick glasses widening in surprise. "Mary Beth! Well, what a pleasant surprise, dear. Come in, come in." I sat on her floral sofa, clutching a cup of lukewarm tea, and cautiously steered the conversation. "Mildred, you know I love David and Sarah, but something's going on. They've cut me off from Lily, and I just can't fathom why." Mildred's eyes darted around. Then she leaned in conspiratorially, her voice dropping to a stage whisper. "Oh, Mary Beth, honey, it's more than just a little spat. My nephew, you know, young Timmy, who works at the county records office, he mentioned something, just in passing, mind you, about David and Sarah making some inquiries about property deeds, yours to be exact." My teacup rattled in my hand. "Property deeds? My house?" I felt a wave of nausea. "What kind of inquiries, Mildred?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Well, dear, just that they were seeing what it would take to transfer ownership, I believe he said. Something about planning for the future and how a big house like yours would be a lot to manage for one person in old age." The words hit me like a physical blow. Not a misunderstanding, not a spat. This was calculated, a cold, hard-nosed plan. They weren't just pushing me out of Lily's life. They were trying to push me out of my own home. My kindness, my unwavering support, my naive trust, they were all being weaponized against me. The warmth I'd felt for my son, for his wife, withered and died in that moment, replaced by a searing, indignant fury. This wasn't just unfair, it was monstrous. The pieces are falling into place, but the full picture is even more horrifying than you can imagine. You absolutely won't believe the chilling depths of their deception. Stick around because the fireworks are about to begin. The world outside Mildred Donovan's house felt different, sharper. The gentle breeze that usually rustled through the oak trees now felt like a cold whisper of betrayal, and the cheerful chirping of birds sounded like mocking laughter. My mind was a whirlwind of accusations and painful realizations. My house, the house I'd bought with my late husband, the house where I'd raised David, the house filled with a lifetime of memories, was now a target. They weren't just pushing me away from Lily, they were trying to push me out of my entire life. The audacity of it, the sheer, cold-blooded nerve was breathtaking. I walked home in a daze, the shock slowly morphing into a white-hot fury. I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was incandescent with rage. How dare they? How dare my own flesh and blood and his calculating wife try to pull such a despicable stunt? All those times David had sweetly suggested I consider downsizing, or how it would be so much easier for me if he just handled all my finances and property. I, like a fool, had considered it. Even signed a few innocuous-looking papers he'd presented, trusting him implicitly. Now those innocuous papers felt like chains tightening around my wrists. My blood boiled. This wasn't just about feeling unwelcome. This was about theft, pure and simple. Moral theft, if not yet legal. I spent the rest of the day pacing my living room, the quiet hum of the refrigerator mocking the turmoil in my head. Sleep was a distant, unreachable shore. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's smirk, David's evasive gaze, and Lily's innocent face. I saw my life, neatly folded and boxed up, ready to be discarded by them. But then, a flicker of something else ignited within me, a stubborn, unyielding spark. I wasn't some helpless old woman to be shuffled off into the sunset. I was Mary Beth. I had raised a child alone, survived recessions, buried a husband, and I wasn't about to let two greedy children strip me of everything I'd built. First light found me at my kitchen table, phone in hand. I wasn't calling Evelyn this time. I was calling Mr. Harrison, my attorney, a man as sharp as a tack and with a reputation for being a bulldog in the courtroom. He answered on the second ring, his voice surprisingly cheerful for such an early hour. "Mary Beth, to what do I owe this early bird call?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice, and then I laid it all out. Every agonizing detail. Lily's first steps, the abrupt cold shoulder, the unanswered calls, Sarah's too involved comment, and finally, Mildred Donovan's revelation about the property inquiries. I didn't mince words. I used every ounce of my indignation to paint a vivid picture of their calculated betrayal. Mr. Harrison listened patiently, a quiet hum on his end of the line, occasionally interjecting with a clipped, "Mm-hmm," or "I see." When I finished, the silence stretched for a moment before he spoke. "Mary Beth, this is serious, very serious. It sounds like a clear case of undue influence and potential elder abuse, even if it's just emotional right now. Any documents you signed under duress or without full understanding can be challenged. And as for Lily, we can absolutely pursue a grandparental visitation order." His words were like a lifeline in a stormy sea. Elder abuse, undue influence, grandparental visitation, legal terms that suddenly gave my amorphous pain a shape, a name, and most importantly, a path forward. I felt a surge of adrenaline, replacing the gnawing fear with a fierce resolve. They wanted a fight? Oh, they were about to get one. I wasn't just fighting for my house or for access to my granddaughter. I was fighting for my dignity, for every single tear, every single sacrifice I had made. They wanted to make me nobody? Well, I was about to show them exactly who Mary Beth was, and it wasn't going to be pretty. The gloves are off, and the battle lines are drawn. This is it, the moment everything changes. You are on the precipice of the grand finale, and trust me, you do not want to miss a single glorious second of what's coming next. My conversation with Mr. Harrison had ignited a fire in my belly. a fierce determination that had been smothered by grief and confusion. I wasn't just going to fight them in a stuffy courtroom. I was going to leverage the very thing they feared most, public opinion. Sarah, with her carefully curated social media presence, and David, with his need to appear the perfect family man, wouldn't stand a chance against the truth. I drafted a post for our local community Facebook group, a place where everyone from Mrs. Henderson's prize-winning roses to Mr. Peterson's missing cat was discussed. I didn't hold back. I wrote about Lily's first steps, about the sudden, inexplicable silence from my son and daughter-in-law, about being cut off from my beloved grandchild. Then, with a deep breath and a trembling finger, I typed out the most damning part, Mildred Donovan's revelation about their inquiries into my property deed. I attached a heartwarming photo of Lily and me, giggling on the porch swing just a few months prior, a stark contrast to the cold reality I was living. I hit post and felt a strange mix of terror and exhilarating relief. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. My phone, which had been silent for weeks, suddenly exploded with notifications. Comments poured in. "Mary Beth, I can't believe this. That's outrageous. How could they do this to you?" Messages of support flooded my inbox from old friends, former colleagues, and even complete strangers from the neighborhood. People share their own stories of family betrayal, of older relatives being taken advantage of. The post went viral within our local community, shared hundreds of times. The sheer volume of solidarity was both heartbreaking and incredibly empowering. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was David. His voice, usually so controlled, was laced with panic and a thinly veiled rage. "Mom, what the hell have you done? Everyone's talking. Sarah's furious. She can't even go to the grocery store without people staring." I felt a grim satisfaction spread through me. "I merely spoke my truth, David. The truth you and Sarah so desperately tried to bury." He sputtered, tried to threaten, tried to manipulate, but I cut him off. "This isn't about me backing down, David. It's about you acknowledging what you've done. And if you want to keep playing games, Mr. Harrison and I are more than ready." The local news picked up the story, drawn by the viral social media buzz. A reporter called, wanting an interview. I agreed, knowing this was my chance to amplify my voice, to make sure no one else went through what I had. I sat in my living room, the camera lights blazing, and spoke calmly, clearly about the importance of family, but also about the insidious nature of betrayal, especially from those you love and trust the most. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I simply stated the facts, letting the raw emotion in my voice convey the depth of my hurt. The public outcry was immense. The pressure on David and Sarah became unbearable. Under the relentless scrutiny of the community and the threat of legal action, they had no choice but to retreat. Mr. Harrison worked his magic, securing a legal agreement that protected my home from any future attempts at transfer, and more importantly, established a clear schedule for me to see Lily. It wasn't perfect. Our visits were initially supervised, a painful reminder of the broken trust, but it was a start. My relationship with David and Sarah was, and likely always will be, fractured beyond repair. They kept their distance, and I, in turn, learned to live without them. The bitterness sometimes resurfaces, a sharp, metallic taste in my mouth, but it's slowly fading. I found solace in the outpouring of support from my community, in the new friendships forged through shared experiences. I realized that family wasn't just about blood. It was about loyalty, respect, and unconditional love. They had made me not a grandma in their twisted narrative, but in doing so, they had made themselves nobody in my life. I had lost a son and a daughter-in-law, but I had gained my voice, my self-respect, and a profound understanding of what truly matters. And in the quiet moments, when Lily's little hand clasped mine during our visits, I knew that was the only victory that truly mattered. If you've ever had to fight for what's right, especially against those you love, you know this feeling. What part of Mary Beth's story resonated with you the most?